The only heir to Alabastion, Princess Nefertari Vivi, who travels through time, has billions of assets and cannot become a pirate or work in the navy. Unfortunately, this identity has been targeted by the ultimate boss of the pirate world, IMM. If you don't want to give up your life and wait for death, then rise up and rebel and turn this world upside down. Well, before starting any trouble, we need to hold on to it. This world is still quite dangerous. PS1, female lead article, please do not enter if you do not like it. PS2, group number 639265715 keywords of the novel. The Princess of the Pirates becomes king with no pop-ups. The Princess of the Pirates becomes king. TXT complete collection download. The Princess of the Pirates becomes king latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Girl Vivi and Pet Duck Kalu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Girl Vivi and Pet Duck Kalu. There is no ship in the new world that can carry me anymore. I am neither a pirate nor a navy. What do you think I should do? I am also very helpless. Die. 9 mountains and 8 seas, where there is no self, 3,000 worlds and realms. Girl Vivi was sleeping, her long water blue hair looking messy, her light blue coat casually thrown aside like a rag, her red lips murmuring some words that outsiders couldn't understand, and her hands grabbing the pillow and waving in the air, clearly feeling drowsy. Gaga. 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 The pet duck Karu, sitting beside him, sighed humanely. What should he do now? It picked up a frying pan, looked at the bottom of the pan, and then at Vivi's smooth forehead. It gestured back and forth in the air twice, but ultimately gave up on this great weapon. In order to awaken its owner, it took a duck step and brought a large onion from the kitchen, then lightly tapped Vivi's face with the onion leaves. Don't make a fuss, don't make a fuss. Vivi rolled over, turned her face inward, and pointed the back of her head at the pet. The scallion did not awaken its owner, and the pet duck Kalu had to follow her to the other side. Gala ga 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 ga. It sang like a song, shouting while using its wings to push its owner. It didn't move, pushed twice, but still didn't react. Soon, the duck fell in love with this game called Awakening the Master, and enjoyed it tirelessly. It threw a ball of paper from a distance and quickly hid behind the cabinet, waiting for a few seconds before sticking out its neck to observe Vivi's reaction. After pondering for a while, it took out its treasured dried fish and swayed it around Vivi's nose, only to be punched in the face by the girl who killed in a good dream with a fake 3,000 world. 15 minutes later, the young girl Vivi finally woke up. She wiped her face and then sniffed. Strange. What's the smell of scallions? Kalu, did you eat scallions in the house? Pet duck Kalu had already put away the scallions, and the scene had undergone a certain degree of disguise. The pan, paper ball, and dried fish were all gone. Faced with Vivi's inquiry, it looked left and right, and its big eyes were full of curiosity, meaning, where are the scallions? I didn't see the duck. Vivi looked at its face as if discovering the new world and said, Kalu, why is your face swollen? Who hit you? Tell me, I'll avenge you. The duck gave her a white glance. Who hit me? Don't you know in your heart? Seeing Vivi completely unaware of the situation, she lay on the ground with a comical appearance, then imitated someone else's appearance, closed her eyes, and constantly waved the pillow. After being stunned for 2 seconds, it seemed like she understood the whole story. Vivi's gaze flickered and she smiled awkwardly. Ah. Ha ha ha. You know, I've been under a lot of pressure lately. It's understandable to have nightmares, right? Since the owner had already woken up, the pet duck Kalu naturally wouldn't let her sleep any longer. With a rhythmic sound of duck language, Vivi miraculously understood most of it, roughly telling the owner not to sleep and to get up and play with her. What time is it now? The girl still asked in a daze. Gaga. Gaga. The pet duck's words automatically transitioned into understandable language in the girl's mind, and she nodded somewhat numbly. It's already afternoon. I slept for 2 hours and they didn't come to ask me to eat. It's really ungrateful. The girl Vivi stretched lazily, with bright yellow hair, wearing a blue striped cotton hat and goggles, and a pet duck named Kalu with a small wooden bucket tied to her chest strap sitting in front of her on the left. At this moment, she was looking at her with a pleasing expression on her face. Has the commission time ended? It looks like we've gained a lot, she asked. Thinking of being manipulated by a mysterious force and running around the town for 2 hours, the pet duck quickly nodded. Great. Vivi snapped her fingers happily. The pet duck Kalu's gaze at the young owner was filled with positive emotions such as loyalty, guardianship, and hard work. The girl did not disappoint its expectations and took out a bucket of ice water that had been prepared long ago from under the nearby bookshelf. Drink plenty of ice water. The girl said a joke that no one else understood, and then let her pet duck enjoy the ice water on the side. She lightly tapped the air in front of her twice. For the cheat that followed her, if evaluated in 2 words, she could only think of simplicity. After more than half a month of travel, she has researched and used this cheat that allows pets to be hosted on a panel and then controlled by the panel for pet picking properties more than 10 times. Without explanation or introduction, she could only keep making various attempts to gradually explore the functions of the cheat. Considering that the world of the Pirate King is too dangerous, if Luffy didn't have his own father to help him cheat, it would also be a death before the victory ending in Logue Town. Laughing on the guillotine. Smiling brilliantly, laughing purely. That's useless. Wang Lufei and Lu Solong have no understanding of the world of pirates. Vivi has secretly made a plan that she must persevere. If she reaches the level of a swordsman, she probably can go out of the mountains. No one understands the world of pirates better than me. We must survive, so Kalu, eat more, and you'll have to work hard soon. Vivi watched as the pet duck finished drinking ice water and, like magic, brought out a plate of cute and colorful jelly. The pet duck picked up a jelly with a star pattern, ate it beautifully, and then patted its stomach with satisfaction. The duck kept nodding, afraid of hitting its chest, indicating that it was a man and that everything was up to it. Great. You're still reliable. Come on, touch your head. Gaga. Gaga. Kalu, you're the best duck. Come on, raise it high. Vivi, who feels quite stressed, still enjoys playing with pets. Although Kalu feels that the owner has changed a bit in the past 2 weeks, he enjoys this kind of change and the owner who can play with him is a good owner. Playing around for a while, Vivi asked Karu to go and play on her own. It's time for her to get down to business. This time, the pet duck was taken care of by the panel for 2 hours, and the harvest was not small. She lightly tapped her fingers and counted, picking up a total of 13 light spots. Upon closer inspection, within the light dots are swordsmanship +1, swordsmanship +1, firearms +1, medicine +1, slash +1, cooking +1, ship repair +1, swordsmanship +1, swordsmanship +1, cooking +1, navigation +1, and swordsmanship +1. Although there may seem to be many points of light, the actual effect on improving one's own combat power is not significant. The improvement of any skill requires long-term accumulation. There are 13 light points, a total of 7 related to combat, which is not a large number, but Vivi is still quite satisfied with this white-picked attribute. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ducks with picking properties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Ducks with picking properties. In addition to the function of pet custody, there is also a attribute list attached at the bottom of the panel. At this time, the domineering and fruit ability areas in the 3 major categories of attributes are blank and useless, except for a few lines of semi-transparent font appearing under physique. Swordsmanship LV3, 22 out of 100, firearms LV2, 9 out of 50, resilient LV2, 5 out of 50, brisk walking LV1, 8 out of 10, equestrian LV3, 52 out of 100, swimming LV2, 1550, chain LV3, 79 out of 100, music LV4, 112/1000, dance LV4, 395/1000, etiquette LV5, July 5000. Click on the swordsmanship column and you will see jump and weapon throw. These three moves are not mysterious and belong to the skills that most pirates know. They have picked up attributes 3 times before and after. At this time, Vivi's and jump are both LV2, and weapon throw is LV3. The panel design is extremely unreasonable, and she completely doesn't understand why dance, music, and other things are included in the scope of body art. This third-rate intellectually disabled panel naturally won't care about her feelings, whether she wants it or not, it's all classified in the same category. As the only heir to the millennium-old kingdom of Alabastion, Princess Vivi's predecessor received extremely comprehensive etiquette training, and her level of etiquette was even highly praised and highly praised. Judging from the required experience points, one can see how difficult it is to further level up. As a traveler, Vivi inherited all the memories of her predecessor, but she had no love for skills such as etiquette, dance, cutting, and gardening, and had no intention of improving at all. Of course, don't expect the pet duck to find skills like dance and music among a group of bounty hunters, thugs, and pirates. She has to endure, save her life, and have many, many trumps. Resilience and brisk walking are the life-saving skills that she values the most. By integrating these light points, she not only gains knowledge and experience, but also some of the original owner's physical fitness. Simply put, those light points are individual attribute points, but she does not have simple attributes such as strength and agility. All improvement depends on various skills such as attack or defense. Being able to resist, run, and save lives is the foundation, while attacking is the means. We can't just keep running, can we? She can be said to have no idea about domineering and can only follow fate. She had some plans for the devil fruit, but that powerful devil fruit was in the second half of the Great Voyage, in a town in the New World. Her current strength to go to the New World was completely seeking death. Tissue is a skill that can be seen and touched, and her strongest skill in this area is chain. This is a combat style mastered by the predecessor, using the appearance of a weak girl to confuse the enemy. Then, the cold-blooded person takes out the chain and uses the sharp chain to harvest the enemy's life through high-speed rotation, making it a safe and unique weapon. It was precisely through this skill that Vivi's predecessor was able to gain fame in the bounty hunter community with the assistance of an old minister. Later, she disguised herself and joined the organization called Baroque Studio, attempting to find the mastermind behind the covert manipulation of the studio and overthrow her own country. After crossing over, Vivi used her moves several times and found them quite good. She also practiced them regularly, but she was prepared to use the chain-related skills as a hidden hand and would no longer be the main attack method. Vivi believes that swordsmanship is currently the most promising and helpful skill for herself. She remembers that her colleagues at Baroque Studios were holding a renowned sword with 50 skilled swords in order to improve and save her life. She turned her gaze to the pet duck she was playing with on the side. The duck, which was 1.5 meters tall and was playing with ants with its butt sticking out, couldn't help but shiver. The feeling of being pulled by the panel and running around was very terrifying. Its neck stiffened and it turned back, just in time to meet the bright smile of its owner. Vivi can hear the voice of the pet duck, and the feeling of being pulled around by the panel uncontrollably is quite terrifying for the pet duck Kalu. Pets need further encouragement. After all, she is not a demon either. Come on, I'll measure the size and knit you a new hat, okay? Gaga. Gaga. Upon hearing about his new hat, the pet duck Kalu excitedly bounced around the house, overjoyed. Vivi does have the skill of weaving. The blue striped cotton hat on Kalu's head is woven from her predecessor, and she has successfully inherited this skill. Weaving a hat is still relatively easy. Go ahead. Kalu duck. Commission for 2 hours. Flush the duck. As Vivi pressed the word commission on the panel and set the commission time to 2 hours, the pet duck Kalu charged out of the door full of energy, accompanied by smoke and dust, disappearing from her sight. You look very motivated, and I can't lose either. Look at me weaving a new hat for you. Ouch. It's a bit complicated. Does this not seem to be tied incorrectly? Let me think it over again. Many things are easy to say, but difficult to do. 15 minutes after Kalu duck ran out, Vivi looked at her work for a long time without saying anything. She couldn't say she didn't know it at all, but it took some time to transform the knowledge in her mind into her own craft. After more than half a month, she had been pondering combat skills such as swordsmanship and firearms, and indeed didn't put much effort into weaving. She scratched her head in some distress, insisting that the promise she made must be fulfilled. She lay weakly on the table, thinking carefully. Time soon arrived in the evening, and Vivi fell asleep thinking about it. She had already figured it out. When her swordsmanship reached LV4, she would definitely weave a hat for her pet duck. At this stage, it is still important to save her life. Even if her old life is gone, her craftsmanship is useless. If it's really not possible, just weave a straw hat. She remembers Fire Fist Ace weaving a straw hat for Little Oz. How could her craft be stronger than that rough guy Ace? After Pet Duck completed today's third commission, her idea of weaving hats for pets after reaching LV4 in swordsmanship couldn't help but change. The reason is simple, it seems difficult for her to reach LV4 because the bounty hunters are almost finished cutting the leeks. For many people in this world, being brave and fighting, drinking and fighting are commonplace. Fighting can drop attributes, and the dropped attributes will naturally be picked up by ducks. However, these guys have a low level of skill, and hoping to brush attributes from them and elevate them to the level of a swordsman or swordsman in one breath is just a dream. Vivi herself is the leader of this group of bounty hunters, at least one of the leaders. How strong can the miscellaneous soldiers under her leadership be in name? The highest level of swordsmanship is mostly LV3, and they know everything they know, so the light points they pick up from them naturally cannot be improved. Kalu Duck ran back and forth 3 times for a total of 6 hours. Vivi's swordsmanship had just reached LV3, 31 out of 100, and the improvement was getting smaller and smaller. Picking up attributes while others are fighting is currently her only way to become stronger. If 4th Emperor Kaido and Whitebeard were to fight at her doorstep, she estimated that lying down could elevate her skills to LV7, but in reality, it was impossible. The custody of pet ducks is not invincible, so everyone can see something that falls into the eyes of the strong, and it's only a matter of seconds. Vivi has always limited the custody time of pet ducks, fearing that this person will be carried to a dangerous place by the mentally disabled panel and die in one breath. While she was pondering, the big bell in the center of the town rang. Pirates are here. Pirates are here. There are 3 pirate ships in total. The bounty hunter in charge of lookout in the town ran and shouted, but Vivi was momentarily taken aback. Then, she rubbed her pet duck's head with both hands and said, "Ha ha ha, our luck is really good. New chives are here." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Whiskey Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Whiskey Mountain. As a well-known bounty hunter organization, Baroque Studios centers around the ancient country of Alabastion and has set up numerous strongholds scattered throughout, with Whiskey Hill being the top priority. The Baroque Studio arranged for 4 senior agents at Whiskey Hill, and as soon as the town bell rang, the 4 of them gathered together to study how to deal with the problem of pirates. Whiskey Mountain, nominally a mountain, is actually a small island. The bounty hunters on the island belong to Baroque Studios, but unlike those miscellaneous soldiers, the 4 of them are considered senior agents and have their own exclusive code names in the studios. Riding on a pet duck, she ran in at lightning speed. She appeared to be a bounty hunter, but in reality, she was the princess of Alabastion. Her core was a traveler, and Nefertitari Vivi's codename in the studio was MS Wednesday. The middle-aged man, who was 2 meters tall and had strange curly hair, nodded lightly when he saw her on the scene. This was the captain of the Kingdom Guard of Alabastion, Ikelam. Middle-aged Uncle and Vivi teamed up to make a name for themselves in the bounty hunter community. After becoming popular, they were recruited by Baroque Studios. As a result, the studio's executives deliberately separated the two. Nowadays, Ikelam is codenamed Mr. 8, and his partner is a woman with dark skin and muscular knots. The woman's codename is Ms. Monday, which is different from Chong Wei. This woman is truly a natural divine power. As Vivi's partner, he is a young man with the code name Mr. 9. He is wearing an emerald green dress, with a thick red scarf tied around his neck, and a haughty expression on his face, fearing that everyone may not see the crown on his head. The crown is definitely fake. I've read so many stories about princes and princesses, and I don't know how to come up with the bizarre conclusion that I'm also a prince. My actual combat ability is in a mess, and my only advantage is that I have the courage when I'm passionate. Of course, to put it bluntly, that kind of behavior is particularly reckless. Baroque Studios has a deep understanding of the essence of pairing men and women, not tiring at work. On Monday, the passionate Mr. 9 teamed up with the charismatic Ms. on Wednesday. They were the 4 senior agents in leadership positions at Whiskey Hill. There are 2 spies in the group of 4, the remaining one is a teasing and easy-to-tease person, and the other is a woman with a simple mind and well-developed limbs, which is the current situation of Whiskey Mountain. Princess Vivi's predecessor needs to find Baroque Studios to subvert Alabastion's plan and the mastermind behind it. This issue is not a big deal for the interloper. She can reveal the truth and go back to live a luxurious life. 2 years later, her dear father falls seriously ill, and she becomes a filial daughter for a few days. After that, she can ascend to the throne. Considering the actual situation, she cannot do so yet. She has memories of language, lifestyle habits, and some daily actions, but after all, she is not herself. She left the palace and worked as an undercover agent in the Baroque studio for just over a month. If she goes back now, there will always be a few smart people who will see her anomalies through clues. Another reason is that the palace protects her too well, too comfortably, and there is no room for cheating to play. Taking into account several factors, she is prepared to continue her promising job as an undercover agent. It's hard to say if there's too much. She'll have to work here for at least a year, and then go back. Even if something unusual is found, she can use her undercover experience as an excuse. Her predecessor needed to be low-key and dance on the tip of the knife, which was the right choice. She didn't dare to be too rough, but she didn't need to be so cautious. At the beginning of the journey, without spending much energy, she gained the leadership of the entire Whiskey Mountain. As soon as Vivi arrived, she didn't show any courtesy and directly assigned tasks to a few people. Mr. 8, you should still do the welcoming work, smile more, and let those pirates see our kindness. The middle-aged curly-haired uncle nodded forcefully. This is an old minister who came undercover with him. There is a question mark about his abilities, but loyalty is not a concern. He completely obeys Vivi's orders unconditionally. On Monday, you and I led the sales team. I was responsible for making them pay, and you were responsible for beating people. On Monday, it resembled the female bodybuilding champions of Vivi's past life, with muscular development that was almost unlike that of a woman, but her voice was very soft and gentle, without any grudges at all. At this moment, she took on the job of being a thug. The rest, Vivi pointed to her partner and claimed to be the prince's Mr. 9, are you quite funny? No, what I mean is that you have the authority of a king. You should be responsible for that atmosphere group. Didn't you say you hired a few jugglers before? Call them all up and enhance the atmosphere. Similar arrangements have already been rehearsed before, and the 3 of them have no problem. They each leave, preparing to welcome the pirates who are coming from afar. Mr. 8 Ikelam came last, with a long face and a concern in Vivi's expression. After Mr. 8 and Ms. 8 left on Monday, he showed a hesitant expression. The girl waved her hand casually, gesturing to say anything if there was anything. Ikaram coughed. Royal Highness Princess, cough, num. Num. The girl quickly interrupted his unique opening speech, which seemed to be a hoarse one. The uncle didn't know if he had a voice problem or was naturally short of breath. He would only be numb after 3 sentences. Over the past few days, she had already listened to it more than 10 times before and after. Stop, stop. Mr. 8, we are in the enemy's lair. When you say Royal Highness Princess, we will be exposed. Don't call me by the code name of Ms. Wednesday. In public, we don't know each other very well. Wei Wei earnestly told the old minister. What can she say? A princess of a country, the only heir of the country, with a distinct personality and outstanding appearance as the captain of the kingdom's escort team. In this world with photos, the 2 celebrities went to the enemy's territory without any makeup or identity treatment to gather evidence. Is there intelligence in this action? This kind of lurking is just a child's play. But in order not to expose the Li Daitao stalemate on her side, Vivi must continue to play this child's play like lurking. If you can't continue to lurk for a day, then let's talk about it later. The middle-aged man cautiously covered his mouth as if he had leaked some key information. He lowered his voice extremely low and said, Ms. Wednesday, have you found any clues related to Mr. Zero? Clues? I have a clear understanding of who he is, so I still need to find clues. But it's meaningless to say this now. Girl Vivi had to put on a thoughtful expression and pondered for a while before answering, no, there's no clue, Mr. 9 definitely doesn't know. The old minister nodded with a distressed expression and said, I've asked, Ms. Monday doesn't know who Mr. Zero is. This person is too mysterious, and no one knows his true identity. You wouldn't just ask MS so straightforwardly. It was Monday, right? Vivi has a black line on her head, full of concern about the spy ability of the old minister. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Welcome to the Great Voyage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Welcome to the Great Voyage. Who is Mr. Zero? Just ask a passerby and you'll know. Croctor, one of the 7 martial seas under the king, is a sand crocodile. Will this kind of strong enemy make people afraid? To say that she is not afraid is definitely a lie. There is a huge difference in strength, and Vivi is still very afraid. But as long as she thinks that her photo is being pondered by the ultimate boss of the One Piece world, in her hand, she is no longer afraid of sand crocodiles. She is afraid of fur. Let's learn about the ultimate boss who has never taken action so far. Being targeted by such a person, who can be more miserable than me. My own combat ability is very stingy. Although I am a princess, I used to be too honest and young, and my total wealth was less than 500,000 bellies. You should know that a newspaper in One Piece world costs 100 bellies, which sounds like a lot. In fact, it is not much different from the Japanese yen in my previous life, and my purchasing power is extremely low. What about the other party? As the ultimate leader of the world government, IMM ruled over 170 member states, and the mighty navy in One Piece world was only a unit under the world government. The seemingly impressive 5 old stars were completely servants and had no status in front of IMM. How do you fight yourself? Do you want to hit it with your head? I can say that I want money without money, and I want people without people, while the other party has a huge influence, and both money and people are too much to count. If we knew the other party's weaknesses, it would be easy to deal with them. However, Oda had not yet explained the relationship between Princess Vivi and IMM, and the unlucky interloper came over. She has no idea what kind of relationship she has with him. Is she a mortal enemy? Are they ancestors? Can't it be a mother or daughter? Vivi pulled back the thought of flying to the horizon and comforted the old minister, saying, "Don't worry, at least 2 years, at most 3 years, the conspiracy of the mastermind behind the scenes will definitely be exposed. She calculated the current time point based on her age, which is 1517 in the Gregorian calendar. Last year, a major event occurred, which was when red-haired Shanks became one of the 4 emperors. At the same time, a woman named Ms. All-Sunday became the partner of EP1-10, managing the daily work of the Baroque workshop. And this year, if nothing unexpected happens, it should be the year when Ace sets sail, with 2 to 3 years left before Luffy sets sail. That's why Vivi believes that at least 2 years, at most 3 years, can solve the Baroque studio. Even if she can't beat the sand crocodile herself, there's still Luffy who brings his own dry food to help, isn't there? For her tone of, comrades, the 8-year anti-Japanese war has begun, the old Minister Ikelam has no doubts, and she is quite calm. She plays around too much, to the point that she is not funny enough, always feeling out of place with the environment. In order to appear less abrupt, she occasionally makes herself appear a bit funny. Pirates, welcome to the Great Voyage. Welcome to Whiskey Mountain. Long live the men at sea. Noisy cheers echoed above the town, and through the faint mist, 3 pirate ships hanging skull flags fished through the dock in the south of the town. The dock was filled with ordinary people, who came out to greet them, with smiles on their faces and flags in their hands. Seeing the ferocious pirates was like seeing their long-lost loved ones. Although there is no such idiom as rice bowl, rice pot, and milk in this world, the bounty hunters of Whiskey Mountain have already expressed their love for the pirates through their actions, and that heartfelt joy cannot be fake. The pirates did not immediately disembark. They believed that their reputation had spread to this sea area called the Great Voyage through a series of burning, killing, and looting. However, this lively welcome ceremony before them was still the first time they had seen it. Shouldn't ordinary people's first reaction to seeing pirates be fear? Ikelam, the captain of the palace guard, was quite approachable, leading his subordinates to play and sing at the dock, which slightly dispelled the hostility of the pirates. One after another, pirates came down. Mr. Nine had already led the atmosphere team to set up the venue, knowing that the pirates were still on guard. This year, there were only a few pirates like Luffy. The pirates braved obstacles and advanced all the way into the Great Voyage, and those who were not vigilant died early. The atmosphere group set up a huge bonfire party in the center of the town, with several hired jugglers performing programs such as walking on stilts and drilling through fire circles around. These people's skills were definitely not as good as the pirate group led by the clown Bucky, but they were also sufficient for this stage at the moment. Good wine, delicious food, and cheerful programs are quickly breaking the guard of pirates. Vivi led MS on Monday, leading a group of bounty hunters who appeared to be children but were actually dwarves, looked like old people, but were actually young and bald, responsible for selling at the venue. Will the stolen money not be spent? What kind of pirate are you? Is it okay to go home and have a peaceful life? The desire for shopping among the pirates is not low. Money is useless on the sea, and only by getting ashore and exchanging it for equipment, supplies in the town can it be valuable. Soon, a group of pirates flocked to the shopping area on the east side of the square. This area gathers most of the supplies from Whiskey Mountain. In order to facilitate management and tell the pirates that she is not a scattered soldier wandering, she fired a gun and changed to a different place for the merchants. Vivi also hung a sign called Prince's Magic Props and Special Items Store. At this time, it was already evening, and the sound of the sea crashing against the rocks was faintly visible. Many bounty hunters lit torches, and the trading area was illuminated extremely brightly. Under the reflection of the flames, you can see a variety of items on the containers, shelves, and tables, including brand new swords, as well as worn-out nautical charts, compasses, and firearms. Come on, take a look. I can't buy it at a loss, I can't fall for it. It's only 90.9 thousand, only 90.9 thousand. A middle-aged woman was shouting in a loop, holding the advertising slogan written by Vivi. The pirate leader wearing the captain's cap asked in a blurry voice, "So, what is the short knife in the middle of that shelf?" The geography of the One Piece world is quite unique, with great shipping routes and the intersection of the Red Earth continent, dividing the entire world into 4 sea areas: Southeast, Northwest, and Northwest. There is little connection between the sea areas, and Vivi can't tell which sea area this One Piece leader comes from now. She turned around and glanced at the shelf, then slowed down to ensure that the other person could hear and understand, and said, "That's the weapon used by the world's largest swordsman, Eagle-Eyed Mihawk." The pirate leader clearly doesn't believe it. The knife on the shelf is not as big as his palm. Vivi knew he didn't believe it and deliberately put it out to dispel doubts. She cleared her throat and then asked the pirate leader, "Have you ever seen Eagle-Eyed Mihawk?" "Haven't you?" "That's easy. This is a hidden hand that Eagle Eyes has been hiding. He once used this knife to injure the red hair of one of the 4 emperors. I bought this knife from the Red Hair Group, and it has a loud name, called the Little Eagle Flying Knife." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Games with minimal damage and insults. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Games with minimal damage and insults. Although the Little Eagle Flying Dagger may be a deceitful statement, it is indeed quite sharp as a treasure of the town. In order for the pirate leader to witness the power of this knife, Vivi combined her chain skills with the techniques in weapon throwing. With a light flick of her fingers, the Little Eagle Flying Knife quickly rotated twice between her palms before throwing it from a distance. A white light flashed by, and at intervals of 30 meters, a tree with a bull mouth thickness was cut off by the waist. This move was fast and ruthless. Vivi flipped her wrist, and the pull ring on her tail finger pulled the transparent silk thread. The flying knife made a beautiful arc, which she pulled back. This move is a martial arts skill that Vivi's predecessor was good at, called Peacock Chainsaw. It emphasizes a fast, accurate, and ruthless move, and when used, it is relatively covert. Many times, it can indeed surprise and win. After obtaining many combat attributes, her strength further improved, which was completely incomparable to the 3 generals and 4 emperors. However, when this move was used, it already had a mysterious and unpredictable meaning in the eyes of a group of pirates belonging to miscellaneous soldiers. The leader of the Miso pirate was startled and reflexively pulled out his long sword. The other pirates also became nervous, and a few of them had wandering eyes, seemingly looking for a way to escape. "Oh hee. Don't be nervous, I'm just trying out the knife for you, okay? Are you interested in buying this Little Eagle Flying Knife?" Vivi said, gesturing to the pirates to look at the sign in the distance called Prince's Magic Props and Special Item Store, which means this is a serious place. "Don't think it's crooked." Her demonstration effect was good, and the quality of the flying knife was also excellent. In the end, the pirate leader bought the flying knife for 1.8 million belly. As their boss paid, the remaining pirates also became enthusiastic. A strong pirate with a size of 5 or 3 and a weight of 300 pounds pointed to a cable on the shelf and asked, "What is that?" "A tattered rope." Vivi looked heavy and said, "That's the cable left by the Golden Lion after the Battle of Wall. There are only 3 left in the world. Listen, there is still the noise left by the naval battle on it. Do you have it?" The pirate furrowed his brow and listened attentively. He didn't notice that the girl in front of him rhythmically stepped on the ground twice. The dull sound, combined with the noise of the entire town, sounded like a big naval battle in the ears of the preconceived pirate. Vivi lowered her voice and said, "Someone said that when the Golden Lion was defeated by the pirate King Roger, he wrote down his treasure collection location on a rope beside him. No matter how valuable the historical relics may be, they are garbage to pirates, but if there is treasure in them, their value will be completely different. A few pirates have shining eyes, as if thinking about how to avoid the ears and eyes of those around them and find this great treasure alone." Another pirate pointed to an umbrella placed high in the sky, with several large holes on its surface. That was also left over from the Battle of the Golden Lion. Vivi wore a "you've made a lot" expression. That's the weapon used by the Red Count Barorik Redfield to defeat Marshal Steelbone Kong, you know. That's the only legendary pirate in pirate history to defeat a marshal head-on. After the Red Count was arrested, his weapon also drifted to the sea. This is the weapon he used when he defeated the marshal back then. It is said that there is also a secret of his invincibility hidden in it. The last thin and dry pirate pointed at a gray, fist-sized ball of fur and asked what it was. Vivi's tone exuded a mysterious aura. That was Lucky Rabbit's foot, once a red hair belonging to the 4 emperors. Shortly after the red hair was lost, it was bitten off by the Sea King class. Think about the meaning behind it, what a magical fate. Vivi is completely not worried about those celebrities coming to her for trouble. What are she afraid of? The boss of our Baroque studio is Wang Xiaoquihai. If you want to hit someone, it's a small matter of me. What does Wednesday have to do with it? If there is a problem, go find the sand crocodile. Are you fighting in a group or a 1-on-1 fight? It's okay to kill the sand crocodile as you please. The wealthy pirate started shopping, and Vivi boasted about all the goods. In her words, those tattered items were either famous knives or spoils of war for the great captain. All spoils of war, including the pirate ship, belonged to the Baroque studio. However, according to the industry's unwritten rules, what she earns before taking action belongs to herself. Vivi is not polite at all. She just wants to empty out the last pellet on the pirate's body, and it doesn't matter how much she sells. Anyway, these things will be sold around and she will return to the warehouse at Whiskey Hill tonight. The rope suspected to contain hidden treasure clues and the broken umbrella containing the legendary pirate's secret inside were both sold at high prices, with Vivi receiving 900,000 and 1.2 million respectively. The remaining pirate's interest was mostly in the Lucky Rabbit's feet, which had been worn with red hair. What kind of golden lion, what kind of red earl, they are all the older generation of pirates. Young pirates nowadays have never heard of them at all. Last year, when they just joined the 4th Emperor's red hair, they know that pirates themselves are superstitious professions. Many times, it is better to believe in their existence than to believe in their absence. In addition, rabbit feet are not expensive, at least cheaper than broken ropes or broken umbrellas. Buy it now, 300000 Bailey. Vivi looked conflicted, as if she had made a big decision. The remaining items with unclear uses were also sold under the bundled promotion of Vivi's VIP shopping card, which continued to be discounted. The so-called Prince's Value Adventure gift package, consisting of a fruit knife, bandage, and a damaged treasure map, was sold out in one go, totaling 19 items. Oh hee 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 hee. The girl smiled happily as her pet duck Kalu crouched on the ground counting money. Rich pirates have their own ways of playing, while those without money are also customers and cannot be turned away. Don't be afraid of those who are not financially well off at the moment. We offer a variety of games with the core idea of making money for you. Vivi gestured to her subordinates to take out 2 suitcases, which were filled with brand new pele with a face value of 10,000. Stacks of coins were placed together, looking quite tempting. Come on, this money-giving game is called playing paper scraps. Each person receives a paper bag. As long as your paper bag is smashed down and can overturn our paper bag, you'll get 10,000 Bailey. If you lose, you can choose to pay or let me give you a slap. The force is not too strong, but it's just a gentle hit in the nature of the game. The damage is not significant and the insult is not very high. Do you understand? It's very simple, right? What are you waiting for? The time for the sea man to change his fate is here. Come and play. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Paper Printing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Paper Printing. As the pirates looked bewildered and seemed to not understand the gameplay of this game, Vivi gave a glance to the nearby pet duck Kalu, meaning to quickly remove the paper bags we use to play the game. In order to make her pet happily help her pick up attributes, Vivi copied many games from her past life, and playing paper is naturally one of them. Gah! The duck, squatting and counting the money, looked at its owner with a question mark on its face and a pair of watery big eyes, completely puzzled by what it meant. Since crossing into this world, I don't know if it's because of the pet panel or if she has awakened some superpower. Vivi can hear a lot of sounds, and she has never seen the Pirate King Roger. She doesn't know the specific situation of listening to everything. For her, stones, rivers, trees, and animals, as long as she focuses, she can hear some vague words to some extent. Most of them are disorganized and cannot be accurately interpreted information, while a few are laughter, emotions, and a few very simple words. Only the voice of the pet duck Kalu sounds the clearest, but this listening is one-sided. She can listen, but cannot transmit it back through heartfelt voice. At present, she has not found the correct use for this ability. Instead, due to hearing too much noise, her brain passively receives a large amount of information, resulting in an extremely poor mental state. She wants to sleep for 16 hours a day. At this point, listening to everything would not be of much help to her. She even gestured with ribbons, and after half a minute, she finally made the duck understand her meaning. Dang, pet duck took out a frying pan from her backpack and gestured to her, asking, "Do you want this?" 3 black lines appeared on Vivi's forehead. Gaw gaw. The duck first hesitated, then nodded repeatedly, indicating that it understood. It began to pull things out of the cartoon backpack. Scallions, a bottle of milk, 2 dice, a half-woven cotton hat, a bunch of marbles, and a somewhat worn-out ledger. When Vivi's face was extremely dark, she finally took out a red basket, 2 square and tightly folded paper bags. Playing paper games at such a young age, Vivi wouldn't go play in front of everyone. Her contestant here is the pet duck Kalu. The duck played with her for half a month, and their skills were pretty good. When Vivi plays, because she has water blue hair, her paper bag usually chooses blue. Naturally, the duck's paper bag will choose red. This game is still the same, the pirate side is blue, and the duck is red. A few pirates looked at each other, they were all the lowest level and least capable miscellaneous soldiers in the pirate group. The captain could take out 1,000,000 Bailey to buy a flying knife at once, but they didn't have that much money. Now this game looks quite simple, it seems like an opportunity to make money. "You guys come first," Vivi said generously. Playing paper games requires skills, and strength is not the determining factor until one punch breaks the ground. Mentality and environment are also important. The noisy environment around seriously affects one's mentality, and the more chaotic it is, the more difficult it is to carefully consider the tricks involved. A seemingly burly pirate exerted a lot of force, smashing the blue paper packet down with force, but the red paper packet of the pet duck Kalu only jumped in place and did not flip over as expected. "You lost," Vivi smiled as she looked at the faces of the pirates and said, "Don't say I didn't give you a chance, you can come one by one. Let's calculate the total score." A total of 7 pirates agreed to playing with paper scraps, even if Vivi asked them to smash them first. 1 pirate lost, and the duck went up and knocked over the paper bag. The other pirate went up again, and the duck went back and knocked over it. All 7 pirates, without exception, lost 7 in a row. "Are you all paying or not?" Vivi asked. The first pirate with a ferocious expression on his face and a fierce glare in his eyes made it impossible to pay. He was slapped in the mouth. He can't afford to lose this person either. He pulled out a somewhat worn-out musket, pointed it at Vivi, and yelled with a twisted face, "What are you talking about? I didn't hear you clearly." "Ha ha ha. Fool, times have changed. I knew it would turn out like this," Vivi sighed to herself. People in the world of One Piece have no integrity at all, but they are not as simple as those in Shuangman Cave. People in this world have explosive physical fitness, and she naturally has enough speed to dodge bullets. There are also several ways to deal with it, such as cutting off the opponent's arm with chains and directly grabbing the gun. However, that is not in line with her character. She had already anticipated this situation and snapped her finger at Miss MS Monday next to her. Ms. Monday, who has muscular knots like a bodybuilding champion, really enjoys her job as a thug. She took a step forward, leaned out with her left hand, and directly crushed the opponent's musket. Then, she shouted in the opponent's shocked eyes, her explosive muscles rising and falling from her legs to her waist, from her waist to her shoulders, and finally swung out her arms. Her fist, as big as a sandbag, hit the face of the armed pirate. A low and deep sound rang out, and Ms. Monday's fist carried a strong wind, incredibly fast. With a firm punch, it hit the opponent's face, and the face of the armed pirate was like a rotten persimmon, which was beaten to pieces and flew out more than 10 meters. Blood, broken teeth, and mucus scattered all over the ground. On Monday, Mrs. wiped her fists as if nothing had happened. Vivi looked at the other 6 pirates with a bright smile and said, "Did a few sea warriors see that? Times haven't changed yet. Are you paying or getting beaten?" 6 people all chose to be beaten, so Vivi asked Ms. to go and have her mouth slapped on Monday. Including the previous guy, there were a total of 7 people who were beaten with a solid 7 big mouths. Vivi didn't come up with this kind of game to make money, of course. The ones who came to play paper games were all poor pirates who searched for a few people but couldn't make a lot of money. She did it to continue researching her own cheats. She wants to give it a try, to see if physical confrontation like hitting the mouth can produce attributes, and she also wants to know if these attributes have timeliness. Taking advantage of Ms. Monday's silence, she pulled the pet duck, who was enthusiastic and ready to continue playing, to her eyes. In the other person's inexplicable gaze, she restarted the custody panel. In the time column, she thought for a moment and finally determined a number of 10 seconds. Although she couldn't see the spot of light yet, she could see the duck's movement of picking it up with her head down. Vivi nodded with satisfaction. It was not easy to control the intensity of fighting and killing, and if she didn't pay attention, she could potentially kill the leak. These pirates didn't seem to have any skills worth learning, but killing them directly was a bit wasteful. That's good for now. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Killing begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Killing begins. Including the pirate who was shot away by Miss MS Monday, there were 7 pirates, each with a big mouth. They were extremely angry and wanted to resist the force taken by Miss MS Monday. At this moment, their eyes were almost on fire as they watched Bailey in the nearby suitcase. Still playing. Still playing. Alright, let's continue. Did you lose, pay, or accept the punishment? Admit the punishment. A big mouth slapped past. Continue. You lost, pay or not. Come on, let's fight. Pa, is another big mouth slap. Like a will battle, playing 17 times in a row, a pirate finally knocked over the red paper bag with a blue paper bag and happily obtained a $10,000 bill. Vivi occasionally shouts to stop, remotely controls the duck, and picks up the attributes that have been knocked off. Invalid attributes, invalid attributes, invalid attributes, swordsmanship +1, swimming +1, invalid attributes, swimming +1. She looked at each one carefully, and most of them were invalid attributes lower than her own level. There were several swimming skills, but once these skills were eaten, the demonic fruit would be discarded, which was of little significance. Only one, swordsmanship +1, was still useful. As she looked at it, she noticed a strange light spot, which opened with a small line of text. Kalu achieved a 10-game winning streak while playing the card game, let's congratulate him. Vivi looked at the pet strangely, but Kalu didn't know why. She opened her mouth wide and looked at her with a puzzled expression. I'll go. Surprisingly, there is still an achievement system hidden in this intellectually disabled panel. Vivi was a bit speechless for a moment. There were no prompts or special sound effects, quietly hiding it. If it weren't for letting her pets and pirates play games, she wouldn't have discovered it when. She remembers playing paper with Kalu many times, but they won 10 in a row. Hee, dream. Just bully the rookie to achieve a 10-game winning streak. This achievement system is completely hidden, invisible and intangible. She can only guess now. According to her understanding, since there is a 10-game winning streak, there may still be achievements such as a 100-game winning streak hidden in the intellectual disability panel, and perhaps even a 1,000-game winning streak, 10,000-game winning streak, and so on. However, it's a bit difficult. She glanced out of her sight at the increasingly skilled pirates. Winning 100 times is not difficult, winning 100 consecutive victories is already difficult. She decided to go back and organize people to brush Duck's achievement. The game continues and is becoming increasingly popular. Vivi finished her career and retired. She stood in the outer circle, gazing at the many pirates as if she were looking at a walking money bag. She harvested all the money of these guys, locked them up, and when she had nothing to do, she would beat them up and even pick up a few waves of attributes. When the attributes couldn't be displayed, she would hand over the pirates to the government for a bounty. Finally, as a branch of Baroque Studio, Whiskey Mountain handed over so many pirates here, which made the studio famous and even earned rewards from the headquarters. What a great pirate, it's a perfect leak. The night is getting darker, and alcohol and food are pouring into the stomachs of the pirates. Their carnival has ended, and the feast for the Whiskey Mountain bounty hunters has just begun. In the heavy darkness, knife light and blood enveloped the entire town. An hour ago, this place was still a paradise of laughter and joy, but now it has become a scene of slaughter. A strong man who is 2 meters tall, with muscular knots and a beard all over his face, runs deep and shallow, with a lucky rabbit foot bought from someone hanging on his chest like a necklace. The lucky rabbit's feet were stained red with blood, and the strong man gritted his teeth, trying to extract all the strength from his body. However, the alcohol paralyzed his nerves, and the blood hole in his left leg was bubbling with blood, which seriously affected his speed. As he realized his life was coming to an end, the strong man couldn't help but roar behind him, "Why? What is this all about? Was all the previous banquets traps?" A woman dressed in a nun-like outfit walked out of the shadows, laughing a little recklessly. "Pirates, welcome to the Great Voyage. Welcome to Whiskey Mountain. Why do we have to ask this? Isn't it natural for a bounty hunter to kill pirates? Let's die." The woman rushed out like an arrow, holding a sharp knife in her wrist. It was as fast as lightning, piercing the strong man's abdomen from bottom to top and cruelly stirring twice. What she didn't expect was that the strong man was not without fighting back. His previous weakness and roar are all to create opportunities for his own counterattack. At this moment, the strong man pulled out a musket and aimed it at the woman's head, pulling the trigger. The woman quickly turned her head, but the bullet still pierced her shoulder. She endured the pain, pulled out a sharp knife, and kicked the gun in the strong man's hand with a flying foot. Then, holding the knife in both hands, she fiercely stabbed the strong man's heart. In a critical moment, a silver chain shot out from behind, wrapping around the woman's wrist and moving towards the side. The chain is very thin, but it contains a great deal of power. The woman was led to run 3 steps to the side before standing on her heel. She turned her head in anger. Vivi moved her right tail finger lightly, and the silver chain rolled back and flew back into her palm. With another stroke, it disappeared. She looked at the woman expressionlessly and said, I want prisoners, a large number of prisoners. If you kill him, I will lose face." The woman measured the power balance between the 2 sides and then walked silently into the darkness. Vivi doesn't care, the world power of the Pirate King is fundamental. Her Alabastion has a 1,000-year history, a domestic population of 10 million, a standing army of 600,000, and one of the 7 martial seas, crocodile crocodile crocodile, came with 3 melons and 2 dates to seize national sovereignty. What is his reliance on? The most fundamental reliance is on personal force. Vivi is stronger than the other party, her words are commands. You. The pirate, who was lucky enough to save his life, seemed to want to say something, but his mouth was full of blood, and he couldn't even hear what he was saying. Vivi waved her hand and said, "Oh. With my rabbit feet, no wonder you're so lucky, buddy. Your life has been saved. Take a break for 2 days, and there will be many fun games waiting for you in the next 2 days. Unfortunately, you came a bit early, and I haven't prepared many fun games yet." The strong man's consciousness became increasingly blurred and vague. He heard the strange blue-haired woman say that he would play a game called 1-2-3, Wooden Man, in the future. He was very puzzled. What is Wooden Man? Vivi has never sympathized with pirates. She values the value of captives, but bounty hunters have a high degree of autonomy and have low constraint on them through the Baroque studio sign. When killing red eyes, no one takes her orders too seriously. She can save as long as she can, there is nothing she can do if she cannot. Her requirement for pet ducks is still to pick up the attributes, as much as she can pick up. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. I am not a road idiot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. I am not a road idiot. The bounty hunters and pirates on the battlefield did not notice that the pet duck Kalu was shuttling through the battlefield with an unwavering pace. The battle between women and strong men is just a microcosm, as the entire town is being slaughtered and able to advance on great voyages from all corners of the world. Even if these pirates are knocked down by the fine wine and food of bounty hunters, they still have some fighting power at the critical moment of life and death. The bright moonlight shines on the earth, and in the faint mist, the pirates unleash all their potential for final resistance. The duck Kalu wearing a blue striped cotton hat is extremely fast, with a head of 1.5 meters resembling a lightning bolt. With 2 long legs, it runs from east to west and from north to south. Many bounty hunters and pirates have seen its figure, but the bounty hunters know that it is the pet of the 4 giants in the town, so it's not surprising. The pirates, on the other hand, are preoccupied with life and death, and it's important to save their lives. There's no time to pay attention to these small matters. The expression on the duck's face is very humanized. When it sees swords and knives chopping at each other, it will be scared. When it sees firearms shooting at each other, it will be very panicked. It will be grateful to escape from both sides of the battle. When it rushes into the battlefield again, it will show that kind of tearless expression. From a bird's eye view of the town, the forces in the town are automatically divided into 3 parts. The bounty hunters who have the absolute upper hand, the pirates who fight hard, and a duck running around. The duck may seem to be running aimlessly, but in reality, it is not. If its running trajectory is marked, it will find that its path is extremely scientific, without turning back at all. Whenever the battle becomes intense to a certain extent, it will appear like a golden flash on the side, pick up something, and then leave with a strange expression. For hours before dawn, all the pirates who arrived at Whiskey Mountain were knocked down. From the captain, second mate, boatswain, and assault captain to the miscellaneous workers on board, there was not a single one who got out of trouble, lying on the ground in all directions. Many bounty hunters, including Princess Vivi and middle-aged Uncle Ikelam, formed a circle and began sharing their loot. All the items purchased by the pirates from the Prince Magic Props and Special Item Store are stored in the warehouse, and these items will still be available for use when the next batch of pirates arrive. The wealth carried by the pirates themselves has been cleared, including swords, ammunition, gold and silver treasures, including their pirate ships, all of which need to be handed over to the headquarters of Baroque Studios. Of course, the character of a bounty hunter is not guaranteed at all. When touching corpses, everyone casually hides some, which is very reasonable. Not to mention others, Vivi secretly hides over 150,000 belly coins, and there is no more than 20.3% of the total amount of supplies turned in. This is also very reasonable. This question, not to mention Nicole Robin or Sand Crocodile, is whether to call the 5 old stars to lead Whiskey Mountain or not. Unfortunately, it was the pirate ship. That thing was too big and there was no place to hide it. Taking advantage of the darkness, secretly sawing 2 wooden boards on the ship was of little value and could only be surrendered truthfully. The corpses were screened one by one, with several bodies with bounties left behind. Pirates without bounties were set on fire, and their ashes were buried at the top of Whiskey Mountain. The surviving pirates were all taken away by Vivi. She wanted to teach these pirates how to play paper making, contribute attributes to herself, and also help the duck achieve a victorious achievement. If her behavior were appropriate in other worlds, it would be a quirk that requires treatment, but in the world of pirates, it is commonplace and even more bizarre than her. The bounty hunters who kill, touch corpses, cremate, dust, and Whiskey Mountains are extremely skilled in this process. After less than an hour of killing, they have arranged for the pirates who have come from afar. Facing the moonlight, everyone went back to their homes, putting away their blood-stained swords and clothes, waiting for the next batch of fat sheep to come. The arrival of the pirate greatly increased Vivi's skill attributes. In order to master these skills proficiently, she concealed from the bounty hunters on the island and conducted special training with her old servant Icolum at the other end of the town. She has found many combat skills, and now she needs to train and fight to turn these knowledge into her instincts. One in front and one behind, the 2 body images were like ninjas sweeping through the dense forest. Vivi in front of her occasionally looked around, but the result of her gaze was fruitless. Her running could only be described as random running. The girl has an agile figure, with long, water blue hair fluttering in the wind. Her expression is focused, and she looks straight ahead, as if there are some life and death enemies there. The sudden cough disrupted the tranquility. With strange curly hair and a height of 2 meters, Mr. 8 Icolum pointed at the girl's left front 90 degrees and said, "Royal Highness Princess, is that the west?" "My direction is the west." Cough, cough, numb. Numb. The girl's expression changed from serious to sudden, and then from sudden to awkward. She awkwardly scratched her head and pointed in front of her, "Icolum, then. Must this be south on my end?" Icolum tried to cover his face and said in a low tone, "Princess, Royal Highness Princess, there is the north. Our training tonight is from the north. Don't you forget." Vivi was stunned for a few seconds, then lowered her head in disappointment. As an old driver, she turned into a road addict after crossing the road. How could this make her feel so embarrassed? But she couldn't help it either. She couldn't use much of the knowledge from her past life. The North Star couldn't be seen at night here, the climate was abnormal, and the direction of sparse trees may not necessarily be north. The alternation of hot and cold was irregular, and the direction of snow melting first may not necessarily be south. Icolum possesses a complete set of skills to judge direction based on rich life experience. He will incorporate a large amount of data such as rivers, ridges, time, and his own location into speculation, and ultimately come up with a relatively accurate direction. Local people who were born and died in this place throughout their lives will not get lost. Pirates and Navy officers who travel north and south will have specialized navigators, and they will not get lost. It doesn't matter if heroes like Wang Lufei and Lu Solong get lost, they rely on the word Mang. Everyone is fine, the newcomer caught the intruder blind. The climate of this pirate world was originally very strange, like an equator. The great route between the East China Sea and the South China Sea was a mix of monsters, with geomagnetism, celestial phenomena, and ocean currents all in chaos. Vivi's previous knowledge of geography was completely useless. She adapted quickly to language, customs, and lifestyle habits, but in terms of geography, she had already been struggling for more than half a month. Ah, she sighed lightly. She didn't currently have the skill to judge direction based on experience, which was too complex. Listening to it made her feel dizzy, and it seemed that her road-crazy state still needed to be maintained for a considerable period of time. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Headquarters Orders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Headquarters Orders. Wololoyalu, Wololoyalu, hihi. Hihika, hihika. Laughter occasionally came from her ears, and the girl Vivi almost had a well on her forehead. Her ability to listen to all things greatly disturbed her. The sounds conveyed to her by rivers, trees, and rocks are not the same as those from the outside world. Often, they appear directly in her mind, and there is a high chance that her brain will mistake them for her own thoughts. What is the use of this talent? I really haven't seen the usage yet. It's unrealistic to fantasize about being the kind of cheats that have a beep in my ear and unique annotations in front of me. These guys are particularly mischievous and always cause trouble for themselves. Pointing oneself the way is also blind. This one says to go left, that one says to go right, pointing the way and then watching a joke on the side. One's road obsession attribute is 10% responsible for oneself, 30% in the environment, and the remaining 60% is the result of these guys randomly pointing the way. After recognizing the wrong direction for the 7th time, Vivi knew that tonight's training was over and waved her hand dejectedly. Let's go back and rest. For a month in a row, 3 batches of pirates entered the site of the Whiskey Mountain bounty hunter. The first 2 waves of pirates were both caught, and the 3rd wave of pirates didn't dare to provoke them. They had more than 10 ships, and the entire pirate group added up to more than 500 people, which looked very fierce. You should know that the bounty hunters in Whiskey Mountain were only 100 people, and they couldn't eat a pirate group with too many people. Perhaps there were those who had eaten devil fruit abilities in this pirate group. When watching the animation, you would think that devil fruit abilities were everywhere. In fact, this thing is rare, and ordinary people have a high chance of never seeing devil fruit abilities in their lifetime. MR.8, MR.9, and MS were all slacking off on Mondays, eating until it was dark. Vivi had a quite fulfilling month, and her problem with being a roadblock remained unresolved. However, her swordsmanship successfully reached LV4, 3 out of 1,000. This kind of improvement is not a flash of gold on the forehead, but a gradual process of improvement. In the past, swordsmanship on Earth required skill, but in the world of One Piece, swordsmanship here valued power more. Without power, no matter how good swordsmanship is, one cannot cut a mountain with one sword. By looking at Sauron's moves, you can tell that swordsmen, and swordsmen don't need to think too much. They don't need to pay attention to real or fake moves at all. Regardless of what's ahead, just pull out your sword and add your domineering aura. With just one strike, you'll end up with 2 strikes. Vivi is the same here. Every time she finds a skill attribute related to combat, she feels that her physical fitness in terms of strength, speed, endurance, and other aspects will increase slightly. There is no need to say anything about ideology or spiritual realm. It is simple and rough, just like, if I take this sword, you will die. That's it. After reaching LV4 in swordsmanship, her physical fitness can surpass 10 of herself who just crossed the line. Self-evaluation, combined with some explanations from my old minister Ikelam, suggests that her swordsmanship has reached a relatively high level. Many countries, at least the Great Route, have escort team captains at this level. When compared horizontally, it is probably similar to when Solon first set sail. Karu's 100 consecutive victories in playing paper were also successfully completed under someone's suggestion to the pirate prisoner, earning a reward of agility +1. Vivi doesn't have such simple and intuitive attribute values. She can only indirectly improve her attributes through various skills. On the duck side, it's much simpler. After showcasing her agility attribute, it increased from 2 to 3, an incredible increase. You can see the shadows when running. Vivi tried it and found that she couldn't catch up with Kalu when running straight. 100 consecutive victories is not the finish line, there seems to be 1,000 consecutive victories ahead. She estimated that the reward would be better, but the more than 30 pirates who were locked up in the dungeon were almost playing and vomiting. Seeing the paper, she felt nauseous. She was worried that someone might sabotage Karu's winning streak, so she didn't push too hard. She developed games such as bouncing marbles and tug-of-war, but unfortunately, the intellectually disabled panel had no reaction to the 10 consecutive victories that Ducks had achieved in these 2 games, so she could only continue to stick to playing paper. Late at night, Whiskey Mountain began to rain, and the remaining blood at the dock was washed away by the rain. Dark clouds cover the trees, and the sound of rain keeps ringing incessantly. Dense raindrops hit the trees like an invisible giant hand, pressing down on the treetops time and time again without stubbornness or resistance. The trees are oppressed by the heavy rain, and can only obey the power of this world, making their waste lower, even lower. The harvest 3 days ago was mediocre, and everyone was on high alert for half a day, only to receive a pirate ship. 17 pirates were killed on the spot, 9 of them were killed, and the remaining 8 automatically joined the ranks of paper-cutting tools. The old minister, Ikalim, quietly came to Weiwei and lowered his voice. Royal Highness Princess, no. Ms. On Wednesday, the identity of the pirates we dealt with 3 days ago seems not simple. The headquarters gave us a new order. At this moment, Vivi is calculating her wealth with Duck Kalu. Baroque Studios is going to overthrow their country, and she wants to try her best to dig their corners. After traveling for a month, she successfully skyrocketed her wealth from 500,000 belly to 7 million belly. According to the market price, adding 3 million, theoretically she could buy a famous sword of the 21st level of the Great Quick Knife. Pirates are all bad guys, and bounty hunters who kill pirates are not much better. It is a common phenomenon to enrich oneself. If it weren't for the lack of reputation and strength among bounty hunters, Vivi would dare to swallow all the seizures. Now looking at what Ikalim means, it seems that our side has killed some key figure. What can be done about this? Troops for the enemy, earth for floods. If they could not fight, they would break up. Weiwei had no ideological burden at all. She attended the meeting with a nonchalant attitude, with Mr. 9, who was prone to getting hot-blooded, and Ms. MS, who was full of muscles. On Monday, she had been waiting for a while. Shortly after her arrival, as the oldest and highest codenamed Mr. 8 in Whiskey Hill, Ikarim took out a phone worm. The telephone worm is a type of animal in the world of pirates, resembling a snail in appearance. When not connected, it is in a sleep state, and when connected, it awakens. This thing can vividly mimic the speaker's expression and tone during a conversation. After Mr. 8 connected to Ikalim, a somewhat cold woman's voice came from across the street. After listening to it twice, Vivi was very certain that the woman across from the phone worm was Nicole Robin, the vice president of Baroque Studios and the so-called Devil's Son, offering a reward of 79 million Bailey. Nicole Robin has not joined the Straw Hat Group, nor is she interested in telling dark jokes. In her work, she adopts a serious and business-oriented attitude. Vivi doesn't speak up and listens attentively to the new tasks assigned to the Whiskey Hill branch. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Unable to provoke trouble. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Unable to provoke trouble, within a month, 20 million Bailey was surrendered and 13 pirate ships were seized. The headquarters was very satisfied with the work of the senior agents at Whiskey Hill. Nicole Robin has been eating from all walks of life since she was 8 years old. She is an expert in both warmth and coldness. Many times, if she doesn't speak, it doesn't mean she doesn't know how to speak. With a few casual words, even Vivi feels very comfortable in her heart. Miss Vice President first gave the performance of the branch a full score. Nicole Robin, who was actually on the other end of the phone worm, was also a bit conflicted. As the deputy president in charge of the daily work of Baroque Studio, she had a lot of tasks at her disposal. Vivi and her team had been transporting seizures to headquarters. If they wanted to exchange these seizures for essential supplies, she was so busy that she had to think twice. Besides, the 13 pirate ships captured were difficult to handle. Alabastion is a desert country, and Baroque Studio needs so many ships for what? Do ocean trade, dig up sand from the desert and sell it to others. We are all in poverty here, so we don't have any special products. Nicole Robin gently rubbed her forehead. This time has really exhausted her. From any perspective, the Whiskey Mountain branch needs to rest for 2 days. It's really 996 every day, and she can't bear it anymore. She coughed lightly and said, "Cough, headquarters is very satisfied with Whiskey Mountain's recent performance. You have established the title of Baroque Studio, and during this period, there have been significantly more bounty hunters joining the Billion Elders and Million Elders than a month ago." On Monday, Mr. 9 and Ms. 8, who were pure-minded, had a happy expression on their faces. As an undercover agent, Mr. 8 also appeared very happy, except for Vivi's expressionless expression. She guessed that the other party must have something to say. As expected, Nicole Robin changed her tone and said, "But your actions have also brought more attention to the studio and caused some unnecessary enemies." She didn't lay too much groundwork and went straight to the topic. "The pirate ship you hunted yesterday had a citizen from the kingdom of Kamabaka. Mr. 9, who is prone to getting drunk, and Ms. M, who is muscular all over her body. On Monday, she is completely illiterate and has never attended a literacy class before. Although Vivi, as a time traveler, has not reached the level of, I won't look at the Pirate King after Roger's death, she can speak eloquently when asked to say the 3 generals, the 4th emperor, and the 5 old stars. However, when asked to say anything that blocks the kingdom, she is dumbfounded. What is this? All 3 of them looked at Mr. 8 Icolum. As the captain of the palace guard, Vivi felt that the old minister must know about this kingdom of all kinds. Ma. The old minister first cleared his throat like singing an opera, and then asked with a strange expression, "That's it? That's the country that was once ruled by miraculous people?" Nicole Robin's voice clearly paused for a moment. Although the king of Kamabaka has been deployed by the navy to the city prison, there are still many people living on that land. Well, there are many people living there who call themselves new humans. Many countries on this side of the Great Voyage call it a fairyland of demons and wonders. Mr. Zero gave me a clear command not to provoke the people of the Kamabaka kingdom in the Baroque Studio. Mr. Zero, the founder of Baroque Studios, is a legend. Apart from Nicole Robin, the vice president in charge of daily work, no one knows his true identity. At this time, Mr. 8, the old minister, heard that Mr. Zero was directly involved in the branch's work, and his heart was full of questions. His eyes were bright and focused, as if he was thinking about the information revealed in this matter. Nicole Robin said in a commanding tone, "From now on, all work at Whiskey Hill will stop and move underground. When we take action again, I will notify you." Vivi tilted her head and pondered for a moment, the kingdom of human demons. A character with a beard all over her face, but smeared with makeup, wearing a short skirt, revealing 2 furry legs, and casting seductive glances everywhere automatically came to mind. She couldn't help but shudder. The decision of the Sand Crocodile and Nicole Robin was correct, and she unconditionally supported it. That group of guys really can't be provoked. During the hibernation period, the task assigned by the studio headquarters to you 4 is to continue recruiting famous bounty hunters. I will provide you with a list later, and I also have tasks such as searching for treasures, hiring ship repair craftsmen, and trading weapons. Your hibernation period is 5 months, and after 5 months, I need to verify the tasks you have completed. If your contribution is not enough, you will know the consequences. After leaving a threatening statement, Nicole Robin unilaterally hung up the call. Not long after, a phone worm equipped with special parts sent over a file, densely packed with human names, all of which were recently popular bounty hunters. The task of repairing ships and searching for treasures doesn't seem urgent, the current top priority is to recruit people. The more, the better. 4 people looked at the list together. Originally, the population flow in the world of One Piece was extremely slow, and many people never left the island they were born on for a lifetime, but Gore D. Rogers' words before his death opened the prelude to the era of the great pirates. Countless people went out to sea to search for the elusive treasure. Times have changed, and it is difficult to find people according to their place of birth. Nicole Robbins' list for them mainly consists of 2 sea areas, namely the East China Sea and the South China Sea, which are close to the Great Route. Vivi is in the same group as the passionate young man Mr. 9 on Wednesday, and the muscular woman Ms. Monday is in the same group as the old minister Mr. 8. This is the arrangement of the studio and cannot be separated. It depends on their choice now. Vivi quickly browsed through the list and quickly identified the target. I'm relatively weak, Mr. 9 wants to protect me, so let's go to the weakest East China Sea. The old minister had no choice but to go anywhere. They immediately divided the list in half and embarked on the path of recruiting bounty hunters for Baroque Studios. Before setting off, the old minister Icolum pulled Vivi aside and reminded her to pay attention to her safety. Your Highness Royal Highness Princess, Ma. I mean miss, on Wednesday, you must be careful when sailing on the sea. Never go up the mast. It's very easy for strange birds to attack you at heights. Ma. Also, be careful not to stand on an open deck where the sniper's attack range is within reach. Just thinking of that scene makes me so worried. Although Wei Wei felt that the worries of the old minister were unnecessary, she patiently listened and occasionally said, Ma. When someone showed kindness, she just listened honestly. But when the old minister Icolum reminded her to be careful of meteorites, she couldn't help it anymore. What were you joking about? I'm going to the East China Sea, not to fight against Tinghu. Where did the meteorite come from? End of this chapter.